Baggy like that, and tinted by sun and wind, but it is delicate too, finely boned, and her eyes are sherry-colored and timid.
Oh my, it's fruitcake weather.
The person to whom she is speaking is myself. I am 7, she is 60-something. We are cousins, very distant ones, and we have lived together, well, as long as I could remember. Other people inhabit the house, relatives, and though they have power over us and frequently make us cry, we are not on the whole too much aware of them. We are each other's best friend. She calls me Buddy, in memory of a boy who was formerly her best friend. The other Buddy died in the 1880s when she was still a child. She is still a child.
I knew it before I got out of bed. The courthouse bell sounded so cold and clear, and there were no birds singing. They've gone to war country, indeed. Oh, Buddy, stop stuffing biscuit and fetch our buggy. Help me find my hat. We've 30 cakes to bake.
It's always the same. A morning arrives in November, my friend, as though officially inaugurating the Christmas time of year that exhilarates her imagination and fuels the blaze of her heart, announces,
It's fruitcake weather. Fetch our buggy. Help me find my hat.
Together we guide our buggy, a dilapidated baby carriage, out to the garden and into a grove of pecan trees. The buggy is mine, that is, it was bought for me when I was born. It is made of wicker, rather unraveled, and the wheels wobble like a drunken sailor's legs, but is a faithful object. Springtimes we take it to the woods and fill it with flowers, herbs, wild fern, for our porch pots. In the summer we pile it with picnic paraphernalia and sugar cane fishing poles and roll it down to the edge of a creek. It has its winters too, as a truck for hauling firewood from the yard to the kitchen, as a warm bed for Queenie, our tough little orange and white rat terrier who has survived distemper and 2 rattlesnake bites. Queenie is trotting beside it now.
3 hours later, they are back in the kitchen, hulling a heaping buggy load of windfall pecans. Their backs hurt from gathering them. How hard they were to find. Among the concealing leaves, the frosted, deceiving grass. Crackle! A cheery crunch, scraps of miniature thunder sound as shells collapse in the golden mound of sweet, oily ivory meat. Mounts in the milk glass bowl. Queenie begs to taste, and now and again my friend sneaks her morsel.
Now we mustn't, Buddy. If we start, we won't stop. And there's scarcely enough, as there is, for 30 cakes.
The kitchen is growing dark. Dusk turns the window into a mirror. Their reflections mingle with the rising moon as they work by the fireside in the firelight. At last, when the moon is quite high, they toss the final hull into the fire and with joined sighs watch it catch flames. The buggy is empty, the bowl is brimful.
We eat our supper, cold biscuits, bacon, blackberry jam, and discuss tomorrow. Tomorrow, the kind of work I like best begins. Buying cherries and citron, ginger and vanilla and canned Hawaiian pineapple, rinds and raisins and walnuts and whiskey and so much flour, butter, so many eggs, spices, flavorings. Why, we'll need a pony to pull the buggy home. But before these purchases can be made, there is the question of money. Neither of us has any. Okay, except for the skinflint sums persons in the house occasionally provide. A dime is considered very big money. Or what we earn from various activities. Holding rummage sales, selling buckets of hand-picked blackberries, jars of homemade jam and apple jelly and peach preserves, rounding up flowers for funerals and weddings. Once, we won the 79th prize, $5, in a national football contest. Not that we know a thing about football, it's just that any contest we hear about, at the moment, our hopes are centered on the 50,000 grand prize being offered to name a new brand of coffee. We suggested AM, and after some hesitation, for my friend thought it perhaps sacrilegious, the slogan, AM, Amen. To tell the truth, our only real profitable enterprise was the Fun and Freak Museum we conducted in a backyard woodshed 2 summers ago. The Fun was a stereotopticon with slide views of Washington and New York, lent us by a relative who had been to those places. She was furious when she discovered why we borrowed it. The Freak was a 3-legged bitty chicken hatched by one of our own hens. Everybody hereabouts wanted to see that bitty. We charged grown-ups a nickel, kids 2 cents, and took in a good $20 before the museum shut down due to the decease of the main attraction.
But one way and another, they do each year accumulate Christmas savings, a fruitcake fund. These monies they keep hidden in an ancient bead purse, under a loose board, under the floor, under a chamber pot, under his friend's bed. The purse is seldom removed from the safe location except to make a deposit, or, as happens every Saturday, a withdrawal. For on Saturdays, Buddy is allowed 10 cents to go to the picture show. She has never been to a picture show, nor does she intend to.
I'd rather hear you tell the story, Buddy. That way I can imagine it. Besides, a person my age shouldn't squander their eyes. When the Lord comes, let me see him clear.
In addition to never seeing a movie,
She has never eaten in a restaurant.
traveled more than 5 miles from home,
Received or sent a telegram.
Read anything except funny papers and the Bible.
worn cosmetics,
Cursed.
Wished someone harm.
told a lie on purpose.
Let a hungry dog go hungry.
Here are a few things she has done, does do.
Killed with a hoe the largest rattlesnake ever seen in this county, 16 rattles.
Dip snuff.
Secretly.
Tame hummingbirds till they sit on her finger.
Just you try it.
Tell ghost stories,
We both believe in ghosts.
so tingling they would chill you in July.
Talk to herself.
Take walks in the rain.
Grow the prettiest japonicas in town,
Know the recipe for every sort of old-time Indian cure.
including a magical wart remover.
Now, with supper finished, they retire to the room in a faraway part of the house where she sleeps in a scrap quilt-covered iron bed painted pink rose, her favorite color. Silently wallowing in the pleasures of conspiracy, she takes the bead purse from its secret place and spills its contents on the scrap quilt. Dollar bills tightly rolled and green as May buds, somber 50-cent pieces heavy enough to weight a dead man's eyes. Lovely dimes, the liveliest coins, the ones that really jingle. Nickels and quarters worn smooth as creek bubbles, but mostly a hateful heap of bitter-odored pennies.
Last summer, others in the house contracted to pay us a penny for every 25 flies we killed. Oh, the carnage of August. The flies that flew to heaven. Yet it was not work in which we took pride. And as we sit counting pennies, it is as though we were back tabulating dead flies. Neither of us has a head for figures. We count slowly, lose track, start again.
According to my calculations, We have $12.73.
According to mine, exactly $13.
I do hope you're wrong, buddy. We can't mess around with 13. The cakes will fall, or put somebody in the cemetery. Why, I wouldn't dream of getting out of bed on the 13th.
This is true. She always spends 13ths in bed. So to be on the safe side, they subtract a penny and toss it out the window.
Of the ingredients that go into our fruitcakes, whiskey is the most expensive as well as the hardest to obtain. State law forbids its sale, but everybody knows you can buy a bottle from Mr. Ha Ha Jones. And the next day, having completed our more prosaic shopping, we set out for Mr. Ha Ha's business address, a sinful,
To quote public opinion,
fish fry and dancing cafe down by the river. We've been there before on the same errand, but in previous years our dealings have been with Ha Ha's wife, an dark Indian woman with brassy peroxide hair and a dead tired disposition. Actually, we've never laid eyes on her husband, though we've heard he's an Indian too, a giant with razor scars across his cheeks. They call him Ha Ha because he's so gloomy. The man never laughs.
as they approached this cafe, a large log cabin festooned inside and out with chains of garish gay naked light bulbs, and standing by the river's muddy edge under the shade of river trees, where moss drifts through the branches like gray mist, their steps slow down.
Even Queenie stops prancing and sticks close by. People have been murdered in Ha Ha's cafe, cut to pieces, hit on the head. There's a case coming up in court next month. Naturally, these goings-on happen at night when the colored lights cast crazy patterns and the Victrola wails. In the daytime, Ha Ha's is shabby and deserted. I knock at the door. Queenie barks. My friend calls.
Mrs. Ha Ha, anyone to home?
Footsteps. The door opens. Our hearts overturn. It's Mr. Ha Ha Jones himself, and he is a giant. He does have scars, and he glowers at us through Satan-tilted eyes and demands to know
What you want with Ha Ha?
If you please, Mr. Ha Ha, we'd like a quart of your finest whiskey.
his eyes tilt more. Would you believe it? Ha Ha is smiling, laughing too.
Which one of you is a drinking man?
It's for making fruit cakes, Mr. Ha Ha. Cooking.
That sobers him. He frowns.
That's no way to waste good whiskey.
Nevertheless, he retreats into the shadowed cafe and seconds later appears carrying a bottle of daisy yellow unlabeled liquor. He demonstrates its sparkle in the sunlight and says,
$2.
We pay him with nickels and dimes and pennies. Suddenly, as he jangles the coins in his hand like a fistful of dice, his face softens.
Tell you what, just send me one of them fruitcakes instead.
Well, there's a lovely man. We'll put an extra cup of raisins in his cake.
The black stove, stoked with coal and firewood, glows like a lighted pumpkin. Egg beaters whirl, spoons spin round in bowls of butter and sugar. Vanilla sweetens the air, ginger spices it, melting, nose-tingling odors saturate the kitchen, suffuse the house, drift out to the world on puffs of chimney smoke. In 4 days, their work is done. 31 cakes, dampened with whiskey, bask on windowsills and shelves. Who are they for?
Friends. Not necessarily neighbor friends. Indeed, the larger share is intended for persons we've met maybe once, perhaps not at all. People who have struck our fancy, like President Roosevelt, like the Reverend and Mrs. J.C. Lucy, Baptist missionaries to Borneo who lectured here last winter. The little knife grinder who comes through town twice a year. Or Abner Packer, the driver of the 6 o'clock bus from Mobile, who exchanges waves with us every day as he passes in a dust cloud. Whoosh. Or the young Winstons, a California couple whose car one afternoon broke down outside the house and who spent a pleasant hour chatting with us on the porch. Young Mr. Winston snapped our picture, the only one we've ever had.
Is it because my friend is shy with everyone else except strangers, that these strangers and merest acquaintances seem to be our truest friends? I think so. Also, the scrapbooks we keep of thank yous on White House stationery, time-to-time communications from California and Borneo, the knife grinders' penny postcards, make us feel connected to eventful worlds beyond the kitchen with its view of a sky that stops.
Now a new December fig branch grates against the window. The kitchen is empty. The cakes are gone. Yesterday they carried the last of them to the post office where the cost of stamps turned their purse inside out.
We're broke.
That rather depresses me, but my friend insists on celebrating with 2 inches of whiskey left in Ha-Ha's bottle. Queenie has a spoonful in a bowl of coffee. She likes her coffee chicory flavored and strong. The rest we divide between a pair of jelly glasses. We're both quite awed at the prospect of drinking straight whiskey. The taste of it brings screwed up expressions and sour shoulders. But by and by we begin to sing, the 2 of us singing different songs simultaneously. I don't know the words to mine, just come along, come along to the dark town runner's ball. But I can dance, that's what I meant to be, a tap dancer in the movies. My dancing shadow rollicks on the walls, our voices rock the chinaware. We giggle as if unseen hands were tickling us. Queenie rolls on her back, her paws plow the air. Something like a grin stretches her black lips. Inside myself, I feel warm and sparky as those tumbling logs, carefree as the wind in the chimney. My friend waltzes around the stove, the hem of her poor calico skirt pinched between her fingers as though it was a party dress.
Showed me the way to go home.
Enter
Showed me the way to go
2
home.
relatives.
Very angry, potent with eyes that scold, tongues that scald. Listen to what they have to say, the words tumbling together into a wrathful tune.
A child of 7
Whiskey on his breath.
Are you out of your mind?
feeding a child of 7?
Must be loony.
Road to ruination.
Remember Cousin Kate?
Under Uncle Charlie.
Uncle Charlie's brother-in-law. Shame.
Scandal.
Humiliation.
Kneel, pray, beg the Lord. Queenie sneaks under the stove. My friend gazes at her shoes. Her chin quivers. She lifts her skirt and blows her nose and runs into her room.
Long after the town has gone to sleep and the house is silent except for the chimings of clocks and the sputter of fading fires, She is weeping into a pillow already as wet as a widow's handkerchief.
Don't cry. Don't cry. You're too old for that.
I am old and funny.
Not funny. Fun. More fun than anybody. Listen, if you don't stop crying, you'll be so tired tomorrow, we can't go cut a tree.
She straightens up. Queenie jumps on the bed where she doesn't belong to lick her cheeks.
I know where we'll find real pretty trees, buddy, and holly too, with berries as big as your eyes. It's way off in the woods, farther than we've ever been. Papa used to bring us Christmas trees from there, carry them on his shoulder. That's 50 years ago. Well now, I can't wait for morning.
Morning. Frozen rime lusters the grass. The sun, round as an orange and orange as a hot weather moon, balances on the horizon, burnishes the silvered winter woods. A wild turkey calls. A renegade hawk grunts in under the growth. Soon, by the edge of knee-deep, rapid-running water, they have to abandon the buggy. Queenie wades through the stream first, paddles across barking complaints at the swiftness of the current, the pneumonia-making coldness of it. They follow, holding their shoes and equipment above their heads, a mile more of chastising thorns, burrs and briars that catch at their clothes, of rusty pine needles brilliant with gaudy fungus and molted feathers. Here, there, a flash, a flutter, an ecstasy of shrillings remind them that not all birds have flown south. Always the path unwinds through lemony sun pools and pitch-black vine tunnels. Another creek to cross, a disturbed armada of speckled trout frost the water around them, and frogs the size of plates practice belly flops. Beaver workmen are building a dam. On the farther shore, Queenie shakes herself and trembles.
My friend shivers too, not with cold, but enthusiasm. One of her hat's ragged roses sheds a petal as she lifts her head and inhales the pine-heavy air.
We're almost there. Can you smell it, buddy?
There are scented acres of holiday trees, prickly-leafed holly, red berries shiny as Chinese bells. Black crows swoop upon them screaming. Having stuffed their burlap sacks with enough greenery and crimson to garland a dozen windows, they set about choosing a tree.
It should be twice as tall as a boy, so a boy can't steal the star.
The one we pick is twice as tall as me. A brave, handsome brute that survives 30 hatchet strokes before it keels with a creaking, rending cry. Lugging it like a kill, we commence the long trek out. Every few yards, we abandon the struggle and sit down and pant. But we have the strength of triumphant huntsmen. That and the tree's virile, icy perfume revive us, goad us on. Many compliments accompany our sunset return along the red clay road to town. But my friend is shy and uncommittal when passers-by praise the treasure perched in our buggy. What a fine tree, and where did it come from?
Yonder ways.
Once a car stops and the rich mill owner's lady wife leans out and whines, "Give you 2 bits cash for that old tree."
Ordinarily, my friend is afraid of saying no, but on this occasion, she promptly shakes her head.
We wouldn't take $1.
$1, my foot, 50 cents. That's my last offer. Goodness, woman, you can get another one.
I doubt it. There's never 2 of anything.
Home. Queenie slumps by the fire and sleeps till tomorrow, snoring loud as a human. A trunk in the attic contains a shoebox of ermine tails off the opera cape of a curious lady who once rented a room in the house. Coils of frazzled tinsel gone gold with age, 1 silver star, a brief rope of dilapidated, undoubtedly dangerous candy-like light bulbs.
Excellent decorations as far as they go, which isn't far enough. My friend wants our tree to blaze.
Like a Baptist window.
But they can't afford the made-in-Japan splendors at the 5 and dime. So they do what they've always done, sit for days at the kitchen table with scissors and crayons and stacks of colored paper.
I make sketches, and my friend cuts them out. Lots of cats, fish too, because they're easy to draw. Some apples, some watermelon, a few winged angels devised from saved up sheets of Hershey bar tinfoil. We use safety pins to attach these creations to the tree. As a final touch, we sprinkle the branches with shredded cotton, picked in August for this purpose. My friend, surveying the effect, claps her hands together.
Now, honest, buddy, doesn't it look good enough to eat?
Queenie tries to eat an angel.
Our next project is the fashioning of family gifts. Tie-dye scarves for the ladies. For the men, a home-brewed lemon and licorice and aspirin syrup to be taken at the first symptoms of a cold and after hunting. But when it comes to making time for each other's gifts, my friend and I separate to work secretly. I would like to buy her a pearl-handled knife, radio, whole pound of chocolate-covered cherries. We tasted some once, and she always swears.
I could live on them, buddy. Lord, yes, I could. And that's not taking his name in vain.
Instead, I'm building her a kite. She would like to give me a bicycle. She said so on several million occasions.
If only I could, buddy. It's bad enough in life to do without something that you want, but confound it. What gets my goat is not being able to give somebody something you want them to have. Only one of these days I will, buddy. Locate you a bike. Don't ask how. Steal it, maybe.
Instead, I'm fairly certain she's building a kite. The same as last year, and the year before. And the year before that, we exchanged slingshots. All of which is fine by me, for we are champion kite flyers who study the wind like sailors. My friend, more accomplished than I, can get a kite aloft where there isn't enough breeze to carry clouds.
Christmas Eve afternoon, they scrape together a nickel and go to the butcher's to buy Queenie's traditional gift, a good gnawable beef bone. The bone wrapped in funny paper is placed high in the tree near the silver star. Queenie knows it's there. She squats at the foot of the chair, staring up in a trance of greed. When bedtime arrives, she doesn't budge.
Her excitement is equaled by my own. I kicked the covers and turned my pillow as though it were a scorching summer's night. Somewhere a rooster crows falsely, for the sun is still on the other side of the world.
Buddy, are you awake?
It is my friend calling from a room which is next to mine. And an instant later, she is sitting on my bed, holding a candle.
Well, I can't sleep. My mind's jumping like a jackrabbit. Buddy, do you think Mrs. Roosevelt will serve our cake at dinner?
We huddle in the bed, and she squeezes my hand. I love you.
Seems like your hand used to be so much smaller. I guess I hate to see you grow up. When you're grown up, will we still be friends?
Always.
But I feel so bad, buddy. I wanted so bad to give you a bike. I tried to sell my cameo Papa gave me, buddy. But I made you another kite.
I made you one too.
The candle burns too short to hold. Out it goes, exposing the starlight, the stars spinning at the window. Possibly they doze, but the beginnings of dawn splash them like cold water. They're up wide-eyed and wandering while they wait for the others to waken.
Quite deliberately, my friend drops a kettle on the kitchen floor. I tap dance in front of closed doors. One by one, the household emerges, looking as though they'd like to kill us both. But it's Christmas, so they can't. First, a gorgeous breakfast, just everything you can imagine, from flapjacks and fried squirrel to hominy grits and honey in the comb, which puts everyone in a good humor except my friend and me. Frankly, we're so impatient to get at the presents, we can't eat a mouthful. Well, I'm disappointed. Who wouldn't be? With socks, a Sunday school shirt, some handkerchiefs, a hand-me-down sweater, and a year's subscription to a religious magazine for children, The Little Shepherd. Makes me boil. It really does.
My friend has a better haul. A sack of satsumas. That's my best present. I am proudest, however, of a white wool shawl knitted by my married sister. But my favorite gift is the kite you built me.
And it is very beautiful, though not as beautiful as the one she made me, which is blue and scattered with gold and green, good conduct stars. Moreover, my name is painted on it. Buddy.
Buddy, the wind is blowing.
The wind is blowing, and nothing will do till we run to a pasture below the house where Queenie has scooted to bury her bone, and where, a winter hence, Queenie will be buried too.
There, plunging through the healthy waist-high grass, they unreel their kites, feel them twitching at the string like skyfish as they swim into the wind. Satisfied, sun-warmed, they sprawl in the grass and peel satsumas and watch their kites cavort. Soon they forget the socks and hand-me-down sweater.
I'm as happy as if we'd already won the $50,000 grand prize in that coffee naming contest.
My, how foolish I am. You know what I've always thought. I've always thought a body would have to be sick and dying before they saw the Lord. And I imagined that when he came, it'd be like looking at the Baptist window, pretty as colored glass with the sun pouring through. Such a shine you don't know it's getting dark. And it's been a comfort to think of that shine, taking away all the spooky feeling. But I'll wager it never happens. I'll wager that at the very end, our body realized the Lord has already shown himself, that things as they are, just like what we've always seen, was seeing him. As for me, I could leave the world with today in my eyes.
This is our last Christmas together. Life separates us. Those who know best decide that I belong in a military school. So follows a miserable succession of bugle-blowing prisons, grim reveille-ridden summer camps. I have a new home too, but it doesn't count. Home is where my friend is, and there I never go.
And there she remains, puttering around the kitchen, alone with Queenie, then alone.
Buddy dear, yesterday Jim Macy's horse kicked Queenie real bad. Be thankful she didn't feel much. I wrapped her in fine linen sheet and rode her in the buggy down to Simpson's pasture. where she can be with all her bones.
For a few Novembers, she continues to bake her fruitcake single-handed. Not as many, but some. And of course, she always sends Buddy the best of the batch. Also in every letter, she encloses a dime wrapped in toilet paper.
See a picture show and write me the story.
More and more 13ths are not only the only days that she stays in bed. A morning arrives in November, a leafless, birdless coming of winter's morning, when she cannot rouse herself to exclaim,
Oh my, it's fruitcake weather.
And when that happens, I know it. A message saying so merely confirms a piece of news some secret vein had already received, severing from me an irreplaceable part of myself, letting it loose like a kite on a broken string. That is why, walking across a school campus on this particular December morning, I keep searching the sky, as if I expected to see, rather like hearts, a lost pair of kites hurrying toward heaven. Thank you.
These words are adapted from Howard Thurman. When the song of the angels is stilled, when the star in the sky is gone, when the kings and princes are home, when the shepherds are back with their flock, the work of Christmas begins. To find the lost, to heal the broken, to feed the hungry, to release a prisoner, to rebuild the nations, to bring peace among all peoples, to make music in the heart. We extinguish our chalice and take its light with us to brighten and heal the world. Now would you please stand as you are willing and able to sing Angels We Have Heard on High, number 231, and please remain standing after the song for our benediction.
If you would like to join hands, please, as we do our benediction. Here in the quiet, we join with each other, reflecting on a Christmas memory. We release from our hearts, may we find a moment of peace. We have come to these moments with the freshness of love, the grace of small treasures, with hope and faith, knowing well the promise of a dawning day, even in the longest nights. Here in the quiet, may we lift our hearts in gratitude for the gifts of our lives and that of delight which we treasure, pausing in thanksgiving. And so now, let us go in peace and love and service. Amen. Namaste. Amen.